case, we'll have an extra in case someone needs one.
And he used all the key words there. And here comes Brett, he's drifting into the park.
We'll have an extra in case someone needs one.
No. You honestly, you.
Has anyone heard from Sarah at all? Hmm? Okay. Is Brett online? Okay. Oh, there she is. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. This is Board of Finance meeting, Wednesday, March 13th, 2024. My daughter Ingrid is officially 15. We have myself, Mike Anderson, Chairman, Dan Smith, Vice Chair, Sarah Nelson, Gary Anino, Carl Johnston, Lou Gendrella, Winona Burdine, and Amy Friend. And public comment. Go ahead, Brian.
Is this on?
I think sounds like it.
Good, I don't have to mess it.
Just point it towards you, Brian, if you can. There you go.
How's that, better?
Perfect.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you the other night for calling on me, and I kept talking and talking, and I could see that it wasn't coming through, so I
Nope.
think it was on my end. So I figured I'd take the opportunity now to say what I was going to say the other night.
Okay.
All right. First of all, I want to say that I'm really happy that the Board of Finance is looking at capital. I think it's been a long time coming that we really got to have a good plan for capital. So years down the road, we don't have to do the same thing over and over and say, oh God, all of a sudden we got to have $1 million for a truck or something. And I'll leave that up to you guys how to figure that out.
Hopefully we can.
The selectmen's budget, I still think there's different areas could be changed and looked at. I kind of just took in my own mind, I don't know if it would work, but I'm thinking just take a 5 to 10% right across the board from every single item, except for the selectman's salary. That's been so low for so many years, I don't know why anybody even wants to be a selectman in our town. And I won't forget the school. The school for years, every year, they come up and they want more, they want more, they want more. I don't know if they can live within their budget. I haven't seen it. I think maybe 1 year I did. But I think it's time that they think outside the box with, especially when they go to negotiations. Contractual obligations. We're always told there's nothing you can do about it. No, there is. The town can vote no. It would go back to the Board of Education or wherever it's got to go. And they'd have to decide where the cuts would be made. Well, most of the time when that's happened, I've always seen it. It affects the kids. Oh, well, we're going to take this away from the kids. We're going to take that away from the kids. No. Look at the benefits they get. Look at the insurances. Me as a senior citizen, yeah, I get a raise from the government. Boom. What do? They raise my medical. They raise my prescriptions. You know, it's the same thing over and over. So it's the same with contractual obligations. When I negotiated obligations down on an electric boat for our union, Those guys up on the top didn't care. They said, this is what we got to spend, and we're going to keep as much as we can. So I'm saying I don't believe that we have to stay to a contractual obligation. You do have to pay them, but maybe you don't need that many people. There was a couple of people added in during I think it was last year and the year before, that the state paid for. I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't looked at it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's in that budget now for the school. Which no, I'm not going to pay for it. Not this taxpayer, anyways. So, anyways, that's where I'm standing on it, and I think you got my letter that I wrote. And I'd like to see the board keep that in the back of their mind as they go through figuring out the budget for the town. I'm watching.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. We have anything else online? Any hands up? Okay. Correspondence. I don't believe we received any additional correspondence since Monday. Just bear with us 1 minute. Okay. Board of Education, we welcome you to present your budget in your presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to the Board of Finance tonight. Is this on? You hearing me?
It is, just for your honest, it's Troy Hopkins. He's our superintendent.
Yep.
Right.
Troy Hopkins, Superintendent of Schools. Proud to be here tonight to represent the Board of Education budget. I wanted to let you know that tonight I'm going to be telling you a story. It's true, it's real, it's nonfiction, and it's about the North Stonington Board of Education budget. And it's more, way more than a sum of dollars. It is clear to me that the schools, the North Stonington Elementary School and Wheeler, are the heart of the town. The whole town has fond memories, fond feelings about the schools. The residents are both protective and proud. They come together in times of challenge, like a bus accident, and in times of celebration, like an inspirational basketball season. No, it's on. Looked like it was off. It might be the battery as well. All right. So it's on. If you'd like me to rewind, I can.
Yeah, does that work?
Testing. That sounds a lot louder than the other one. My point is working. Would you like me to start it? Would Brett, can you hear me now? Would you like me to start at the beginning? Please say, please let me do it again. No, you don't want to hear it. Okay. Okay. Would you like me to pick up where we left off? Okay. Let's go to that side. Okay. So I was saying that we're responsible for paying for students even when they choose to go to school elsewhere, like a magnet school, and we pay their tuition. It's in the narrative that we provided for you, more details about that. Maybe it went off. Can you hear me now? Oh, hey, good thinking. Yeah, this is great. This is the microphone I wanted. Thank you. Yeah, I know I can make it work. Like getting that mic. No, I'm good. Just stay right there. It's pretty stable. Thank you. Okay, so as I was saying, well, let's see, where did my PowerPoint go?
Let's bring Open Gov back.
I mean, I could present it without the PowerPoint displayed up there if you want, because you have all the slides from before, right? We sent them to you last week. Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
well, we're gonna, get ourselves back on. I apologize, everyone.
Why you don't own more buildings?
Sarah, are you good at this stuff?
Okay, just go over there and
Yeah,
start doing that.
it's by committee. By committee is always best.
There you go. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm taking the controls now. Thank you. Evening, everyone. I'm Board of Finance Airlines. Sarah's the. Oh, yeah? Hey, Brett, if I touch this.
I like for the record to show that we've had 1 hour meetings the last 2 meetings in a row. So if this one goes over a little bit, we've got leeway. Gary.
Oh, it's hard. Tough one to watch. Hard to watch. Oh, jam and hot. Hot with all the bodies together.
Is one display on this other laptop? Laura, is that on your laptop too? No. It was sneaking off to the side. It's backwards, so go the other way.
Bring it over here. Brett is remote logging in.
I'm running this show.
Can you? No, no. Wrath of Brett wants control of your computer. No.
I think we're looking, it's looking good right now. No,
What's 5 years old? He'd be like, yeah, maybe screaming eagle all night.
okay.
Yeah,
Right there, yep.
Yeah,
it's like you need music and.
There we go. Like you. Maybe what?
that means you'll have no questions. Hey, Darren? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, my clicker's not working for slides. No. Ah, no. We must have hit the button at the same time. No, my clicker's not working. You could just forward if you don't mind, or someone could hit the button. Okay, could we go on to the next slide? Okay, so I was just saying that we have other kids that choose to go elsewhere and we have to support that. And it doesn't matter how many of them go. We have to support that. Okay. And there is a difference between magnet agricultural schools and technical schools where we pay tuition for magnet and agricultural schools. We do not pay tuition for technical schools. Okay. And we don't pay much transportation. We don't pay any for magnet and vocational schools transportation, but we do pay some for technical schools. Most of it's actually in our bus contract, such that it's so embedded that if we stop doing it, we'd still pay the same. Like say that we pay a little extra for like times the schedule doesn't line up. Like they have a half day and we don't, kind of thing. Okay, so just to clarify about that. Next slide, please. All right, so it's important to know what the Board of Ed goals are, the district priorities. Okay, this is all staff are really working on these three things. And one is to make staff, students and families feel valued, safe, and have a sense of belonging. And that's really important for kids to learn their best. If they don't feel safe or they don't feel like they belong, they don't learn their best, and we know that. And also the second one is a major focus this year is innovative instructional opportunities for kids that really they see the purpose of their learning. There's many components to this. I could talk at length about this topic, but this is a major focus of professional development. And you hear a little bit more about it later. And the third one is just to really develop our processes so they are efficient and people understand them. They're transparent. And that could be anything from like a morning routine in a classroom to how someone signs up for a workshop to how someone changes their deductions for their 403B savings account. All right. We want to have such efficient processes that everybody can really focus more on the kids and the learning. Okay, so we're serious about these. This is the second year with these Board of Ed goals, and I think we're making great progress. We have really an impressive school district. You may know that already. It's really true, and we want to keep it that way. And there's some things we're looking to constantly improve. And we have our innovative instruction goal. That's basically teaching in the best way it is to learn that subject for that kid, even because it's different for each kid. We have the STEAM initiative at the elementary school. That's interdisciplinary. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Our ECC Diversity Council, that's our athletic league. The ECC, by the way, the boys won the tournament this year, the boys basketball, beating Stonington. Really exciting. And they have this, they've actually had meetings in here with student representatives from every team in the league. And Kristen St. Germain, our principal, took the lead at doing that. And they worked with those kids to really discuss how do you be respectful during sporting events. They came up with the statement they read before each game. And it's really quite impressive. Kristen actually led a workshop at Connecticut Association of Schools on the process that she did to create that. So our name is out there, and people are noticing too. Senior capstone pathway opportunities, internships for kids. We got high scores. Our math scores really, really high in the region. You know, our third grade math scores highest in the state this past year. Remember the year before we had the highest eighth grade science scores in the state, right? So we continue to hit these impressive marks with our student achievement. And that partly that's due to the quality of people we have working with the kids. It's due to the support of the families, and it's due to some of the interventionists that we employ also. So when you have a math interventionist, reading interventionist, you have kids that are learning to do math and learning how to read better than they would without that support. So if we take that support away, we're going to have kids not learning how to read as well, not learning how to do math as well. And yes, the scores would probably go down because of that. And another thing that I think is really impressive is we're the only district in the state of Connecticut that's a candidate for this accreditation from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. I'm actually leading a visit to a high school in Massachusetts, the decennial accreditation visit over April vacation. And so I continue to be involved in that, and I think it's really important for professional development. I find it satisfying. I think it's really helpful in leading the district in that process as well. Let's go to the next slide, please. All right, so these slides, we call them return on investment. It's not, when we were starting to put these together, I realized, like, where's the money? Like maybe we should have said return on commitment, because we committed to opening the wood shop, right? And we did it. And materials processing, and there's 46 kids that have benefited after taking classes in there this year, who would not have had that experience had we not opened it up. And I talked about opening it up last year, and this group and the Board of Ed seemed supportive of it, and so we did it. But I'm going to just be quiet for a moment, and you can take a read on these quotes from 3 kids. Okay, those kids are really happy we opened the wood shop. Let's go to the next slide. So another major thing, remember, this was the hill I was gonna die on, and I'm still living. Thank you very much. But we added to our mental health team, and we hired a counselor at the elementary school to do social work. We look at all the responsibilities, and we just put some numbers on there just so you have an idea. Like, these are numbers from this year, and we still have needs. Like, we have to call 211, which is like mobile crisis for a kid who's really dysregulated. They need a high level of support, more than we could support in the school, or 911 at times. And we've had to make calls like that. Okay. But we would have had to make more calls had we not added a mental health professional to the team. That counselor at the elementary school is visiting all classrooms proactively, teaching lessons on respect, responsibility, and resilience and growth mindset. So overall, we were running ragged trying to meet the emotional needs of our kids last year. We were very reactive. This year, we're way more proactive, okay, which is a better place to be. All right. And so the return on commitment or investment, however you want to look at it, is large. It's really hard to quantify, okay, because you have different groups of kids every year who have needs, but we are well staffed to adequately service the social and emotional needs of our students now. And so that's the impact that it's had. So it really was worth it to add that staff member to mental health team. It stretches the rest of the team less than it did before. All right, we're staying on top of it. Next slide, please. All right, so the last return on investment slide is, like we had last year piloted an alternative ed program. We made it official this year. We have 13 kids that are either in there all the time or part-time. It's a really flexible program to meet the needs of individual kids. It's some of the time they spend over here on this side of the road. Other times, some of the kids go and take classes on the other side of the road. 7 kids, 7 seniors, current seniors, are on track to graduate and they spend time in this program. And there's a real good chance none of them would have graduated without this program, this level of support. These are some of the things that happen in the program. They have a therapy dog, Molly. And just, I'll give you a moment, just read those two quotes on the bottom left from a couple kids. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, I mentioned this already. The New England Association of Schools and Colleges, there's real benefits to this. It's really not extra work. It just gives direction to the good work that the staff is already doing. And it'll be a nice feather in the cap for the school system when we do get this. And they have this district accreditation now, which costs the same as regular accreditation. The high school or Wheeler was already gone through the process. We're just adding the elementary school. It's one visit, one report the staff has to write for the district. Okay, so they've made it a little easier, but there's huge benefits curriculum-wise, instructional-wise, just vision of the graduate. So anyway, we're doing that. Let's go to the next slide. And see on the next slide is North Stonington Elementary School. You can see some of the things they've been working on. I mentioned about their science STEAM initiative, the innovative instruction. You know, the North Stonington Education Foundation last year funded an $8,500 grant for the media center for the elementary school as seed money. And then we committed to funding that with like 2,500 in the Board of Ed budget each year after that. There's some great Lego sets they just got with the money that the board supported that with. The design, engineering and design Lego sets, reading materials. There's a new mandate that every district had to adopt one of a handful of identified reading programs that the state identified, and we identified one we really liked. Other people are doing it, like Preston. It's called Interreading. So that costs some money, but we're doing that. Math instruction, a lot of good stuff happening. We got a couple math interventionists, which we want to keep both of them, and I can explain that a little later. Let's go to the next slide. This is Wheeler now. A lot of good stuff happening at Wheeler too. A lot of pathway stuff, internships, a lot of sports things, lots of co-op opportunities. We actually started an indoor track team this year because so many kids were interested. We looked at the budget and we said, okay, you know what? We didn't spend all this money on transportation and these couple coaching stipends we didn't run because there weren't enough kids to run a team, and we reallocated money and we created this opportunity for like 18 kids. I got a framed picture of the indoor track team in my office. And it's something a lot of people, including me, are very proud of, that give kids this opportunity. Professional development wise, really looking a lot of innovative instruction. They go to NELMS, which is the New England League of Middle Schools. A lot of music, professional development. We're really trying to stay on top of the best way to teach kids. Okay, and so that's what we're doing. Special services. All right, so just to give you an idea, so April Christensen is our new Director of Student Services. She's in charge of all these areas. It's not just special education, right? It's like related services like speech and occupational, physical therapy, nursing, she oversees. Homelessness, she oversees. 504 accommodations plan, she oversees. So the job is large, so it's not just special education, just so you know. And she's overseeing the alternative ed program. It's important on this slide to point out that when I said like we're taking initiative and thinking differently and try to do a better job, we've spent over the last few years a lot of money on outside contracted services, people that we pay to come into the school to provide services to our kids. So we're hoping to hire a BCBA, which is a behavior specialist, and have some of our people, some of our current paraprofessionals become registered behavior technicians. So we have the internal expertise to help kids who need that extra support with behavior at a less cost than paying an outside company to come in and do those services. Okay, so this is one way we're hoping to do things better for less. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. So just to point out, like, if you asked me, like, what are the biggest expenses in your budget? Yes, employment contracts are a big expense, right? That's most of your money, salaries, right? And then there's, and you can see here, we listed the different contracts we have. Teachers, they're in year 2 of their contract. Next year, they'll be in year 2. Okay, this year they're in year 1. Administrators will be in year 1 of their new 3-year contract next year. Paraprofessionals, custodians will be in year 2 next year, and secretaries will be in year 3 next year. So we're going to be negotiating with the secretaries next year again. Okay, so they'll have, they'll always have a contract. The health insurance is a big cost. It's going up. You can see it's 5.08% increase. That's really, really pretty low. And it's because we're in a health consortium through Learn with other districts, and it kind of buffers the increase for us because there's a lump of money there that provides that buffer. So it's a really good arrangement. But still going up 5.08% just for that. And actually the employment contracts, if you just look at those two, it'd be a higher percent than what I'm proposing tonight because we're looking to save money elsewhere. The innovative instruction, we are proposing, we actually have one of our teacher leaders lead with instructional improvement even more. We had her fill the role of curriculum coordinator this year, but she well exceeded expectations, and the momentum is so impressive that we want to keep it going. And we want to release her up from teaching most of the classes and have a part-time social studies teacher for at least a year, pick up classes so she can focus on coaching teachers on improving their instruction in the classroom. She's doing an excellent job. She runs most of the professional development now on innovative instruction. And that's a cost, though. That's a cost. And then the other thing is athletic director. We realize we have a really competent, dedicated athletic director who's retiring, who has done a job that's impossible. Okay, she's nearly a full-time teacher, and she does all the athletic director responsibilities, staying here to way at night. We also want someone that can really focus on our program and creating opportunities for kids. And our current person's done a great job, but we need someone else to come in and do a great job and be able to focus. So we're proposing that we separate the athletic director from the PE teacher. And we already have the athletic director in the budget because we're budgeting for the people we have. Okay, so we're just going to hire that PE teacher. So that's a cost. Okay, so that's a driver of the budget. And the other thing is technology. We have been taking technology out of the budget to get it down over the last few years and then using non-lapsing funds or grant money we had for COVID relief. But to really have a sustainable technology plan, like our one-to-one initiative with kids, we really should put it in the budget. If we can get it in the budget this year, right? And we just keep the dollar amount the same next year, that's a 0% increase next year for that line. So I'm really going to encourage us to think about that, and let's get it in the budget when the opportunity is right there in front of us. And I think this is the year. So I had talked about this a little bit, but I'll give you a moment if you want to read some of the quotes that people said after one of our recent PD days. So the role, because this person has really exceeded expectation, is more transitioned from curriculum coordinator to me, really like a director of instruction and learning, which he's doing. And if you can see in the red, like there's some specific things she's been doing, not only editing curriculum documents for people, but researching innovative teaching practices, sharing them, cultivating our other teacher leaders, supporting the vertical alignment of curriculum. She attends Learn curriculum meetings with assistant superintendents from other districts. So a lot of districts have an assistant superintendent in charge of doing what she's doing. Okay, we have a teacher leader who's willing to do the work, is doing the work, and we want to support her doing the work. By the way, we paid for her administrative license, the district did, and we'd like to be able to keep and empower our teacher leaders, and that's going to continue to help our school system be even better. So let's go to the next slide, please. So I talked a little bit about this, but athletic director or director of athletics, we're really looking to increase opportunities for kids. There are times where at the middle school level, it's hard to field the team. We don't have enough players to run a girls soccer team, okay? Or any team. So what do? We need someone to focus on that. Rather than having no opportunity, how can we create an opportunity for kids to still be active? You know, maybe it's some hybrid type program, maybe intramurals is part of it, but we need someone to focus on it, right? And we also would like to do more for our kids who have disabilities and have more of a unified sports program as well. And I think by having someone who could really focus on this, I think it would really help. All right, let's go to the next slide. I just want to point out to you that, you know, we said thinking differently, taking initiative. Okay, so here's one of the things. These are things you don't see in the budget. You don't see replacement of desktop computers or classroom printers. You don't see them in the budget. You could see them in the budget, and it would be valid, and I could justify it because they're all like a decade old. The desktops, the teacher desktops in classrooms and the printers, and they're still functioning. We're really lucky. But we're making the decisions about prioritizing, and if we're thinking maybe we don't replace a desktop if it gives out, because we want to prioritize giving staff laptops, which are more efficient, that could hook up at the docking stations, and they can also take them home and do work. So rather than paying for 2 computers per teacher, we'd be paying for 1. Okay, so this is an idea we still have to work through, but in this budget, you don't see $80,000 for replacement of the decade-old desktops. And you don't see $37,000 for the replacement of the decade-old printers in classrooms. Very efficient for a teacher to have a printer in a classroom if it functions, right? But we can also print to copy machines now. We just got to figure out a plan that makes it still efficient for teachers to get what they want to teach the kids, but yet have forward thinking about what's best practice with using technology now. And the last thing is going to more cloud storage versus on-site storage, because servers to store the data on site are expensive. And some of our servers are really old, and we could justify replacing them now, but we're not asking for that. Okay, because Greg has done a lot of work to keep servers going, and we have one that we know we need to keep that controls like climate control software. We want to have on site. Okay, but some of the other things, you know, worksheets, tests that teachers create, things that I create, I save on Google, right? Because we have a Google account. And so, but that's a transition, because a lot of teachers do have a lot of things saved on the physical server here. Okay, so this is going to be like a 2-year transition. We saved significant amount of money in special education by thinking differently. $200,000 in outplacement tuition, contracted services $94,000, transportation $94,000, $388,000. Now, because well, where is that? Well, we use some of that to hire the behavior specialist, right? And so we reallocated funds to try to do things better. Okay, but this is huge. This is huge that we're doing this, that we're saving that amount of money in these areas. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So we're also looking at how do we prioritize the assignment of paraprofessionals? Well, we have legal obligations. If a student has an individual educational plan and it says they need a one-on-one para, we have to provide that. So that's a priority, right? It's illegal. And it's best for the kid if we determine that's what the kid needs, right? We have to do that. And we're also looking to have registered behavior technicians, or RBTs, 3 of them, that will undergo extensive training, 40 hours of training. And they could be some of our current paraprofessionals if they're interested in doing that. And they would get they would get a stipend to take on that additional role. This is not something that they're not doing anyway. They have to do this anyway. And when kids become dysregulated, everybody has to do this work. It's just that now they'll be more trained to do the work. So this is a really good thing. And we want to prioritize putting para support where our kids are youngest in pre-K and kindergarten. Let's go next slide. All right, so you all know that, we had grant funding over the last 3 years for COVID relief, and it now it's expired. And you might be interested, okay, what were we funding this current year with the ESSER 3 grant or ARP grant? We funded 3 paraprofessionals. What are we going to do? How are we going to fund those? We're going to move them to the IDEA grant. Okay, so we're spending a little less with IDEA grant because of the less outplaced tuition. So we're able to move some of the paraprofessionals into that grant. Okay, so we're not adding those to the budget. Now, the elementary school math interventionist that was funded in ESSER grant, we moved to the Board of Ed budget. Just to be clear, right? There was a halftime reading specialist at the elementary school that we're moving to a new grant called the Right to Read grant. Now, I want you to know this Right to Read grant is not just given to us with without a whole lot of effort. Okay, we have 3 people, 2 teachers and a principal that have to attend full-day workshops, multiple ones, the rest of this year and next year. It's about 1 or 2 per month that they have to attend. And they're learning things, learning good things, but there are also things we already know about the science of reading, because Rob Salino was very proactive and trained a lot of his people with workshops last year on it. So we're in good shape, but we have to jump through all the hoops to get the money for the Right to Read grant, and we jump through the hoops, okay? And then there was a quarter of a literacy teacher at the middle school, high school that it's actually a full person. It's not a quarter person, right? But a quarter of their salary was paid for the ESSER grant. We moved it into regular ed budget. Okay, so that's how the grant expiring COVID grant, this is how we're dealing with it. Okay, next slide. All right, so if you looked at the biggest increases in the budget, and I mentioned this a little bit, but regular education teacher salaries, right? And you can see we're adding the PE teacher, the 0.6 social studies teacher I already talked about. That's right there. The central office salaries, okay, they're also going up. And that's because we put the BCBA there, and then there's other contractual increases that we have to account for. We put the BCBA there because it's not going to be in a contract. It's not in a union, okay, and it's not specific to a building. So anybody who's not specific to a building, who is not in a contract, is in central office salaries, like our IT department, for example. Okay, in central office salaries. So it made sense to put it there. Paraprofessional salaries are going up. There's contracts, right? It's a new contract. They're going to be in the 2nd year of their new contract. So that goes up a bit. Medical insurance, I talked about 5.08, it's going up. And the technology, like I said, we're going to add some technology to the regular budget so we don't have to try to find a grant or put it in non-lapsing. We want to be able to count on our one-to-one program year after year. So if you add all that up, it's $722,000. We're asking for $509,000. How are we able to do that? Through thinking differently, taking initiative and thinking differently, saving money in special education costs. Okay, so if you want to subtract those numbers, you could get out your calculator, this number of 722 minus 509, and you come out with just over 200,000, I think. So, that is one way of looking at the budget and what we're asking for. Well, let's go to the next slide. Just to point out that because the town has a school system, the town is getting revenue. In one part is called ECS, or Educational Cost Sharing Funds. This is what the town got last year. We're thinking the town will get at least that this year. However, actually, hang on a minute, just backtrack. The town actually got more money than this, the current year. $73,000 more than the 2.6 million. And we're hoping that they would get that again. Okay, but we don't know for sure until the governor's budget passes. That's an unfortunate thing with the timing, you know, and we got to kind of do our best guess on budgeting sometimes, and some things are up in the air. But we do take tuition kids in. We are conservatively projecting just over 300,000 of income to the town for our kids from Preston and Voluntown that pay tuition. By the way, the tuition went up. I put it in the narrative so you could see the 4-year plan of increasing tuition that the Board of Ed approved last year. So almost $3 million, but you know, every town gets some ECS money. Every town doesn't get some tuition money though. Like, we're really fortunate. People want to come here. So we've got to keep that going. If we keep a strong school system, they'll continue to come and the town will continue to get that money. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is real important and impressive. And there's probably a few more things we could add to the list. But the collaboration between the town and the Board of Ed is huge. It's overwhelming, really. I mean, look at that. I mean, steep grants working on that together. You know, yeah, we just talked about the tuition. I mean, there's the giving closet and food pantry in the hallway. That was a collaboration. There's going to be a testing and training center on the other side of that wall that can also still be used for meetings. Okay, but it could be, you know, a community group. It could be the fire department needs to do NIMS training, or whatever, or we need to have AP testing for English or something. The traffic signs with great collaboration, right? The blinking lights that said school zone, slow down, 25 miles an hour. That's really slow, you know. I hope you're all doing that. If you're behind me, you are. The school construction audit. This is a big deal, okay? And it seems to be coming to a close soon on this. And we've been working with Bob Carlson and his staff been working really hard on that, as well as Bill Merrill and myself. It seems like it's been a never-ending process with this, okay? But hopefully it's coming to an end, and hopefully there'll be some conclusion soon that can be shared. The before and after school program, the Board of Ed is looking to take this on and try it. We'll see if we can make this a reality in the elementary school. Parking lot between the schools, did you see? It's beautiful. They already started to work. It may be up for the play next week. People could park there. And you know, Town Rec uses our buildings for no charge, and we don't charge them for custodial fees. And I think we want to continue to do that. I think it's just good relationship with the town. It's not that much. I think we can absorb it. And honestly, if a toilet overflows and a custodian's there, it's better they're there and they know how to react right away to protect the buildings, right? Let's go to the next slide, please. Oh yeah, so non-lapsing expenditures. There's been a lot that the Board of Ed has funded through the non-lapsing account. Really great stuff. A kiln for pottery recently, right? HVAC software, because it was old. It was like 7 generations old. It needed to be upgraded. There's so many. You could take a look at the list. I mean, it's really impressive. There are other things that are coming up that they're going to be good purchases. It's really great to have that.
Last year, you told me if you open the wood shop, you had everything you needed.
We bought I'll tell you what we bought. We bought a router, okay, that puts holes in materials. It's really cool. You would like it.
I'm sure it is.
You could
but I
come use it.
remember We have
If you
everything
need a
we
hole
need.
in something.
Everything we need, we have, you told us.
Did I say that? Well, yes, everything we need, but was it everything we want? Because there's a difference.
You make it to. I just. you hit me.
Okay. You're right. Good way. Point well taken. I don't mind being corrected or reminded. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I mean, you know, every year is different, right? Last year, I made a big deal about the bump. Okay, I'll admit it. Okay, no one has to remind me. Okay, so it's like 4 years that we're, you could argue we're a little bit low. And we got a bump, 4.41. Thank you. But for reasons that I just presented, it's really difficult to get under that. Right? But because of our initiative of thinking differently, saving money, reallocating funds, we're able to get, I think, significantly under that. So initially, when I presented to the board, it was more of a plateau because I was presenting them like 4.5 to start. And then working with the board, we got it down together. And when the board adopted it, it's 3.36. And it allows us to keep a strong school system that will continue to be the heart of the town, continue to be a source of pride, and we can continue to improve it. So the last slide now, or two more slides. This is a slide to make you feel good. Okay, so feel good about this. It's hard to compare towns, I get it, right? But let's compare. So these are the budgets that the Board of Eds of these towns actually adopted, but didn't go to Board of Finance yet. Okay, these are the numbers I could find that were at that status that were somewhat close to us. And I put them all in there that I can find that are somewhat close. Groton, 7.91, Westbrook, 3.2, Stonington, 5.56. Hey, look at us, 3.36. Take a breath, doesn't it? Oh, well, Lisa, it feels good, doesn't it, to be at 3.36? Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I'm suggesting you could feel really good about it. All right, let's go to the next slide. And I wanted to let you know, like, what are the grants that we're getting next year? Okay, so these are the grants we're getting next year. There's the IDEA grants, the special education grant. We talked about it a little bit before. Remember, those are the 3 paras are going there, and we have money because of the less outplaced tuition. There's a Title I grant, not that much, but that's based on a number of reduced and free lunch students. Title II is for professional development. Title IV is for like innovative new stuff. And then the new Right to Read grant, we're looking to get $73,000. So and remember, that's where the 0.5 reading specialist is going to go. And then we have a little bit money left for reading materials and supplies.
These are all state grants?
These are, some are state, some are federal, right, Bill? Yeah, but the right, okay, federal managed by the state. Thank you. And that's it. We can go to the last slide for pretty pictures and more feel-good opportunity. So that concludes the formal presentation.
Thank you, Troy. I think we can speak for the board that we appreciate all the time and effort you put into these presentations. And it's probably one of the reasons why our schools of distinctions, it starts from the top, and we thank you very much for that. And we also appreciate the fact that you got us this budget last week, so we've had it to review. And I think Monday we're going to be having you back to to kind of go over what changes that we want. I don't know if everyone, we want to have any preliminary review tonight. I'm certainly fine with that. I think while you're here and the board's here, we should probably, if people do have questions, then we should certainly open those up for discussion. And I'm sure that, when we at first blush that we all got this. I think that the thing that might have jumped out at us is, of course, is the central office increase of $118,000. And so that is, from my understanding of your presentation, that's the inclusion of a new position of the let me see, I want to make sure I get the title correct. Is the board certified behavioral analyst?
That's correct, yeah. That's part of that, yes.
And then you said there were some other contractual increases at the central office that also included in that.
Yes.
What's the cost of the,
So the BCBA, we budgeted at $88,000.
okay,
That's not going to be in a teacher's contract. That's going to be, it's not in a union.
right,
But to get someone with that level of expertise and training, that's what you have to pay. And then the remaining portions are regular salary increases. And then there's also the superintendent's contract is in there as well. And that wasn't in the budget. That was negotiated later for this current year. So it's not in the budget for the current, that was negotiated after the budget passed last year. So that's why that's in there as well.
okay.
So, just to clarify something on that, when you mentioned somebody's $88,000, that's the salary, or is that including benefits?
That's the salary.
So then all the benefits need to be,
Yeah, we have
Include-
that accounted for in the benefits line.
The addition of the athletic director's salary.
So the athletic director salary is going to be in the teacher's contract. So whatever level of experience they have, there's steps in a teacher's contract. If they have, 6 years teaching experience, that's where in the contract they would be on that salary step. And then there is an additional stipend in the teacher's contract for athletic director, so they would get that as well. So it really depends on who we hire, what that salary will be. So it's up in the air at this point.
I thought you were gonna try to do a special, a athletic director position only,
Right. That's what I'm.
Okay,
and then a
but-
PE teacher on top of that.
Yes, but the athletic director, that's true. But the athletic director only would be in the teacher's contract. And would get the athletic director stipend. It's also in the teacher's contract. We'd have to renegotiate the teacher's contract to do something differently
Okay,
than that. And we also put in the ad that we may have the athletic director teach a class. So depending on who we hire and what their certification is, it might be that we can actually have them teach a class. We just want to make it manageable for them and not teaching a class at, 8 o'clock and then having to stay till 9:30 at night, day after day.
So is that additional cost?
Amy, just use your mic, so.
Is that additional cost allocated in this budget here? Because we didn't see a
Yeah.
line item for it.
Yes, because it's in, all right, so it's in the regular education teacher line. And you'll see it and on my slides for the, when I said largest increases slide, under the regular teacher is listed PE teacher. Because we had the money in this year's budget to cover the AD position and stipend, and we just really adding that PE teacher to make it all work. So that's there. It's in the regular education teacher line.
Amy, just for reference, it's at line 16. Line 14.
It's embedded in that line. It's,
Yeah, right, right.
she was looking for it specifically called.
Oh,
Is the full-time athletic director already. Her position is in the budget.
Understood. I'm asking what he was explaining. Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm confused. Are we hiring an additional athletic director beyond Ellen?
Ellen is retiring,
Okay,
so we're replacing her, but we're going to replace her with an athletic director that teaches less, possibly none at all, so they could focus on building the program. But to be in the teacher's contract. So we have to hire a PE teacher to pick up the teaching.
is that what she teach? I don't know. I don't have kids in the high school. Is that what she taught? PE?
PE, yeah.
Okay, so you're replacing her with two people.
It's one more additional position.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Thank you.
that's correct.
It is a little confusing
It is.
that position lives in the teacher's contract. It took me a long time to sort of wrap my head around that. So it's an athletic director, but it's embedded in that line.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about where it was embedded. I know there's other people that were monumental at this school system, and when they retired, they also had to be replaced with two. So I'm not surprised. I just was clarifying, so I understood. That's all.
It's very reminiscent of the problem we had with the social. workers.
Yes.
So with that, on page 14, you've got the staffing chart for 24-25, and it's 143.5. So I'm assuming that's a full-time equivalent number.
Yes.
What would that have been last year? Would be good to know.
I'm sorry, where were you again, Lou?
This is on page, I've got page 14 of their, after you get through the slides, this was the write-up.
Oh, okay.
Bill, you have that information?
Everyone see that? If you wanted to follow along in the regular information packet that Troy put out,
Yep.
there's a
Chart.
there's a
Kinda look
15, there's a
like this.
15-page document, and then it goes into the slides. So you're looking at page 14, Lou?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So really what we'd be doing was we'd be taking, right, the BCBA out because that's new. You'd be taking, a PE teacher out and a 0.6 social studies teacher out. So that would be 2.6. So go 143.5 minus 2.6, and I think we got the number you're looking for. It's like 140.9 on like quick calculation, but I would want to like just double check that.
Yeah,
And we can
it's-
certainly get back to you on that
Yeah,
exact
that's
answer. but
fine. It was
It's just
just,
hard to figure out like.
It's a good way to make a
sure.
comparison on full.
Yeah, so we added that. So we're adding a BCBA full-time.
Mhm.
We're adding a PE teacher full-time, and we're adding a 0.6 social studies teacher. So 2.6 FTE additions. And I believe that is correct, but again, we could double check it. Maybe there's something we're not thinking of, but I believe that's it.
Do you have a regular special ed coordinator in the high school, middle school, and in the elementary school?
Do we?
Yes.
No. A special ed coordinator?
Yeah, once somebody overlooks the
No,
the
we don't have a, like,
OTs, the,
department head.
yeah,
We don't have any department heads in the special education. We have our Director of Student Services, who is district-wide, who oversees all the special education teachers, all the related service staff, and no, there's no tiered leadership after her. Like, everybody's just under her equally, except for, paraprofessionals might be working with one of the special ed teachers and, reporting to them.
okay,
But there's no like department heads for special ed in each school.
okay.
That's a good idea. Should you, do I have time to add that in?
No.
Oh.
My reason for my question was if you did, I mean, you have one that's district-wide, basically, that oversees all of the special ed throughout the district.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So that was my question. My question was that you want to bring on the BCBA, which is kind of more of a focused role of behavioral issues, not
Yes.
necessarily the therapy type stuff for the specialized therapy like OT and PT and speech.
Yeah, it is specific for helping kids with behavior. Yeah, and that's their training. So they wouldn't be, they wouldn't be like a department head in special ed or anything. They're special service. We have a BCBA now coming in from the outside, and we pay a lot of money for that.
That's important to know. I
Yeah.
mean, that you're already paying for this service
Yeah,
from
yeah. So-
outplacement.
Yeah. So you could see like when we're say reduced $94,000 of contracted services, well, that's part of it right there.
Okay. And this person's district-wide too.
Yes.
So I remember last year, I was going through my notes, that the PE scores were low.
Mhm.
Where are we at with that this year?
I think last year we made some improvements
Mhm.
based on the data. We'll see what these scores do this year. We did have, the elementary school added a recess at the beginning of the day to get kids more active and moving. And I think that has helped.
Is it just as like a screen time thing?
I think
Is
it's a
there a
combination
combination
of
of
factors. Yeah, I think it's a combination of factors.
Okay.
And one of them is that, yeah, we have one PE teacher
Yep.
at the elementary school and kids only get PE once a week in their specials rotation. So in terms of, structured instruction for fitness, or, then in skill development, it's really that one time a week.
Is that how the rest of the other districts around us are running that? or just-
No, in my experience, most have PE 2-3 times a week.
And it's just because we're lacking the teachers to teach physical education.
That, and then even if we had the teachers, we'd have to readjust the schedule and all
Okay.
that. Like our kids have, in the special rotation, they have music, they have art, they have
Mhm.
computers, they have library, and they have PE. Right? They have those 5. So
Something's
something would
gotta
need to
fall.
give to
Yep.
create more opportunity for increased PE classes.
Okay,
I
is it
think,
just,
Dan, it's also notable that those scores were only low at the elementary school level, so it's not district
okay,
wide.
that was my
that's
next
why-
question.
That's why
good
we
point.
added that recess,
Yep.
excuse me, instead of trying to figure out a way to hire another person, we thought we'd add that in and see what happens.
The second question I had was the new AD that you would be hiring, and you would talk about vision going forward. What is the vision, like a 3-year vision that you guys have for that? Or for the district wide?
Yeah, well, the vision is to maintain and build a stronger athletic program, and not just to win, but to provide opportunities for kids. And we want kids to be able to pick up soccer, in 7th grade, even though they never played, and have the experience of learning soccer skills and being part of a team and getting kind of that advantage to develop teamwork and leadership and being that sense of belonging, which is part of goal 1. We want to give kids opportunities if they have an interest at all. We want to be able to create opportunities like an indoor track team like we did this year because kids were interested. We want to be able to kind of keep a pulse on what are kids interested in doing and try to meet those needs. And if we can have someone that really focuses on that, I think we're going to do even a better job than we are now. We've done a great job. We've got a lot of co-op type opportunities, gymnastics and ice hockey, et cetera, right? But we want to continue to do that. And that's what makes us an attractive place to come and gets tuition to the town.
Okay, thank you.
And one of the problems that's, I think relatively unique to a district our size is that we struggle with numbers at the middle school level. So, for example, you may have a few girls that want to play middle school soccer, but not enough for a middle school soccer team. So our options are to just not have one. And then you have kids not playing middle school soccer, so they're missing out on that opportunity. And at that age level, there's not a great other option unless they're playing some sort of travel soccer, right? And then we miss out on a feeder program for the high school. And so this was a way to utilize the athletic director to really strengthen what's going on in the middle school. So if there are 5 girls that want to play middle school soccer, that athletic director pulls something together in-house if need be to figure out how to give those 5 kids an opportunity to play soccer. But by freeing up that extra time, by not having the athletic director teaching classes, they'll be able to focus their energy on that kind of stuff where the need is.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of follow-ups on that. So, the athletic director is only going to be responsible for the middle school, high school. Will there be anything that they will do for the elementary school?
To start out, we're thinking of focusing on middle school, high school. It could evolve at some point, but we just haven't done that at this
Okay.
point.
Part of the point of my question is related to the fact that, one, the PE scores, 2, so I know especially with girls, if they don't get exposure to sports, and it really applies to any kids, right? Early enough, they feel like they can't do it. So you might have low adoption just because they feel like all their friends already took, who could take, whose parents were able to take them at times that were very difficult and pay the money to put them in other leagues, that they're not good enough. And so if there was some sort of scenario where things could be offered, even from like a rec perspective or an after-school perspective in the elementary school, that could generate that interest for children that wouldn't normally have that opportunity, that could be a feeder into your middle school program where now more people are interested in being there. And it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be something as simple as, if your kid wants to stay after school on Tuesday and learn how to play soccer, they get to learn how to
I'm
play
in.
soccer.
I'm in. That's a
Okay.
great idea.
Should I
Thank
quit
you.
while I'm ahead?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see a lot of,
sold.
a lot of collaboration opportunities with
Yeah.
the rec department with this athletic director for developing the younger talent and saying, hey, guy, this is, Tom Fabian, this is what we need from you for programs in order to have a feeder program. Because soccer was great when our kids were little, and it just really grew, and that those teams all went on to play middle school and high school, and then just something fell off, or I don't know if it was just I don't think it was the rec program. The rec program was trying to do, I think it was a lack of coaches and whatnot, but I see some opportunity for cooperation. Do we have anything else on the athletic director part? Gary, I think you had your hand up. You were going to make a point on something? No, we're moving on.
Yeah, so I guess we're gonna speak on Monday.
Yeah.
I'd like to know a couple of things. One is the 388 in savings, you admittedly said it was gross. What's the net on that? So there was some absorption of that savings to fund roles that filled it. I'd like to see what that net number on the savings is. I'd also like to see the staffing levels for 21 through 25. And the reason I'm going there is and I was supportive and I still am. We brought in support staff for the pupils post-COVID to help them through a difficult time. I want to see that uptick, and I want to see where we are now. Did any of those roles go away, or once they're here, they stay? Because I think when we supported bringing in the extra roles, it was a limited duration. I just kind of want to see that ebb and flow. The other thing is more of a overarching thing. You mentioned computers and printers. That really should be capital. It should go in the capital, whether it's your non-lapsing or through the town capital. And I would also just editorially add, in my previous career, when we did a large consolidation, we did away with personal printers and went to printing to the local area network. Huge savings. So that's it.
Gary, historically, we have struggled to fund our technology line where it needs to be. So for example, last year, we funded it out of the non-lapsing account because we needed to make some cuts to make the budget bottom line work. This year, when we submitted our capital request to the Board of Selectmen, we did have in that plan some technology upgrades with the smart boards that have to be replaced. And they really felt like that didn't belong in the capital plan, and so we took it back. This year, in an effort to provide you with a budget that funds all of the line items that we need to run. We funded that again because we don't think it's appropriate to think that every year we'll be able to fund it at the right level, or if that's any way to make a real sustainable technology. So that's why we put it back in, and a little bit of history about why it's not in the capital process. So certainly, if we're having these capital conversations, it's something to talk about more. But we did attempt to put some technology into that capital.
Yeah, it's just as we evolve into the capital arena where we should be, it's important that we recognize what should be paid out of year-to-year expense versus what should truly be paid out of a capital budget, because you lose transparency into what the town is truly spending. Okay. Thanks.
Oh, the other thing, Gary, the ESSER. There's that slide, I don't know what page that is. It's the ESSER grant expired slide. So that's going to show you just the ones that we funded in 23, 24, but that's pretty interesting about the ones that we funded through the COVID money and what's happened.
I'm gonna address that too. So we'll.
I need to see the full numbers through those years. So I actually had to Google and say, what do we consider the COVID years? And they're 19 and 20 for the US. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, all post-COVID. But we should be sort of hitting our stride again, I would think. And some of those special resources needs for them should diminish.
Did someone else have a point on that?
I do not have a point on that, but I have a number of questions that I'd like to ask.
Does it have to do with that slide that she was just talking about?
No.
Okay, do you mind if I just keep with that while we're fresh
Sure.
on it? Thanks, Winona. So just looking at line 39 of your budget and line 20 of your budget. And we have, obviously, these are the big increases that, we're gonna have questions on. And I understand that slide is on the second to last page of the slide that we got from Troy last week. I know the ESSER grant expired, so 3 paraprofessionals did not get moved into the Board of Education budget. They got moved to the IDEA grant. So that 85,000 on line 39 does not include those increases. Those are contractual increases for the other paras. Am I correct there?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it is a 21.9% increase, right? On the paraprofessional line,
Yes,
line 39.
yes.
So that might not be the full answer that yes, there's contractual increases, but there's got to be more in there than just a contractual increase to get up to that percent, right? So I believe.
Did we
but
include a
we
new
can
para?
check.
Did we include a new para or is there?
I think probably what it is, but we can double check is probably last year during the year, we added a para because of a student need. And then, so that wasn't in last year's budget, but it is now in this year's budget. I'm kind of just guessing what it is, but we'll check on that.
Okay,
and
because
have
that
the
was my
answer.
only question, because I know
Yeah.
you said it's not going to be included in this, and now we have this big jump and, just where did it come from?
Oh, was that,
39.
yeah, 39. Bill, is that the stipends for the RBTs? Not on 39? Okay, well, we can check on that and get that answer to you. Like what is the, what's in that $85,000?
The current year's budget, we didn't have the new rate. So we put in current year's budget, is at the rate from 2 years ago. Because we were still negotiating.
So this 85,000 could be just salary increase and a person. All right, so looking like, so the answer is a salary increase.
I think that's going to be part of your
Perfect.
answer to Gary as to where our increases are over the past couple of years. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfair for us to ask you to solve this tonight. That's what I'm saying. If you
Yeah,
wanna go back
that's-
Monday, I
Well,
can
and
we
I
tell
did
you what I'm-
right.
We will.
I have,
And kind of same with the special ed, like the 59,000 is a
And
big
just-
number. Just tell us what it
Yeah,
is.
and just
We're
so
not
you know,
trying to, obviously, we can't line item yet. And
We're in the process of hiring a paraprofessional now, right? Because of student needs, right? So that happens. That's a regular thing that happens during the year.
Mhm.
And so that what happens is you produce, you get the budget. You don't change the budget when that happens because you voted on budget, so we'll get the answer clearly, but
Okay.
that's part of the equation here.
All right, thank you.
I have a slightly related follow-up question.
Go ahead,
if
please.
that's okay.
And then Waynona will get to you.
So also like Gary, you don't need to answer this now, but I did go through and I added up all the cuts to special education, because as I was looking at the cuts, special education just seemed to keep popping up.
Yeah.
And I got 504,000. So I know
Yeah.
you indicated that it was like 388.
But yeah, because I was just looking at the big reductions,
Okay, so
the bigger reductions.
I guess what my question is that due to adjustments we made where we're now providing services in-house that are less expensive, or are we also just cutting out of the special ed budget?
No,
It's because we were able to bring some people back. And that's a real testament to what our Director of Special Services is doing and how she's being able to shape this district.
I mean, $500,000, that's a lot.
It's pretty huge. Now, not to say that if a child moved into the district tomorrow.
Yeah.
That had needs that we couldn't meet here, that wouldn't go back up. But I think it's notable that she's returned kids to the district.
Thank you.
So Troy, the way that I looked at this, was anything that was over like a $50,000 increase or something that was more than 10% increase were the line items that I looked at. And, I won't be here Monday, so you get a free pass. But there's a number of items just on like lines through 4 through 44. There's a bunch that are well over a 10% increase. And, some of them are small dollars, but the increase is significant, like row 41, cafeteria aides went up 49%. So some of those, if you could just talk to some of those next week,
Sure. Yeah.
that it would be helpful.
So, I mean, I could just tell you a little piece right now. The minimum wage that those people make went up January 1st. So that's part of the answer. The other part is we are having them do more hours. So, but we can have a more thorough answer for you on Monday.
Okay. Mike, are we looking at other pieces or are we still? on
Yes.
Salaries?
You are free to ask all your questions, Waynona.
Okay, so just again, the same theme throughout this, anything that was over 50 or 10%. So row 68, line 68, fiscal services looks to be increasing 84%. Can you tell me what fiscal services is? Maybe that'll answer my question.
Something that caught the attention of the board as well. And Bill did some extensive work to help us understand what that was. Bill, do you want to share a little bit about fiscal services?
We need a mic for
Yeah, I think you might need a microphone.
Bill.
So, in physical services, that's, support for areas in the central office and what consolidate accounts into, other accounts into here. Cost driver is. And the main driver is the maintenance fee for the accounting software was moved into this account because it's a central office expense, not an educational expense. So we're trying to make things make more sense.
So where was it debited out of then?
It was in license and software, which has also increased a lot because we consolidated a lot of all the software subscriptions and the software programs into one account so we can keep better track of it.
Is that line 213?
Yeah, I think so.
Can we actually have a breakdown of all the licenses and software for the next meeting?
Sure, we have it.
Thank you.
I think they're both out of that. So there are a number of line items, Winona, that you're gonna see those big jumps in. And as we dove into the budget with Bill, he helped us to understand that a lot of it is just that he was, that there were things that were places that they didn't belong. And he's trying to make them make more sense, but it is difficult when you do a look back from last year to understand what's moved. So the breakdown of the fiscal services was really helpful for us, and maybe we can look at some of the other ones that we know changed, like the software and licensing. That was really helpful as well.
Thanks. I know we talked about the electricity at the elementary school, so this is a doubling of last year's budget, and is that just due to the rate reclassification?
There was, Bill. We just budgeted what it's gonna cost based on what we started paying. We were not paying enough. They were not billing us enough, and then they tried to bill us back. Bill argued with them and said no, and so really saved money, but we had to moving forward, we had to pay the real rate. So now we have the budget for the real rate, so that's why that's a significant increase.
Yeah.
And by the way, we will in the future be working with the town together to determine, like a joint contract for distribution of electricity. And hopefully we'll get the same rate as them.
Just a couple of questions. One would be with substitutes. I'm seeing a lot of changes in that. The dollar amounts projecting down. So this is line 45, 47. So I'm just curious as to, did something structurally change that you don't think you'll need that many substitutes?
So we had a reduction in line 45 and 47. Yeah. This is based on, I believe, end of the year projections in those lines. And it's just a trend of spending on those lines, and we feel like we can get by with less.
Okay. And just a new guy. Where's the, I didn't see the school lunch program with the cost for that.
Well,
Where is-
yeah, so the school lunch is is not really a Board of Ed program. We contract out with them. They're not really our employees. Bill, do you want to add to that at all, or is that about
Pay
it?
for that, right?
The school lunch program wouldn't be in our budget. Right?
We,
We have a contract with Merrimack and we cannot lose money. If we
well, I
have to
like
break-
that. I mean, this is,
If we don't break even, they have to pay in. So it's no cost to the district. Except for pay like electricity and things like that.
the overhead cost, it's assumed, but that's there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the students pay for lunch.
All lunches are free now, thanks to the state of Connecticut.
Free lunch. Okay,
And breakfast.
So we get money from the state and then we pay Aramark, and if there's cost overruns, Aramark eats it. No pun intended.
Yeah. That was a good
I
one.
guess I'd be curious to know I don't know if we even do a per lunch cost is. To be kind of indicative of what they're getting.
Like, what does it cost, like, really, for a kid to buy lunch?
No, what is the cost of the food? What are we giving them?
Okay.
I'd be interested to know just what you know,
And monthly
is it a 72-cent lunch or is it something a little more substantial?
I mean, if it's not in the budget, I don't know. I think it's,
Not in the budget.
I think maybe as a concerned citizen, you can go to Board of Education meeting and request that information.
Okay, I'll go to their next meeting.
On the tuition, so, rows 1, 8, 17, 18, 19, I was looking at, so the VOAG school, the magnet schools, those are going up. Are we sending more students there, or is that just an increase in tuition costs?
So, Winona, if you look at, in the narrative, page 10, or page 9, I think it starts on, back in December, you guys had asked for some information specifically about who was going, what that cost, the transportation associated, so that's what all of that is. So that's the breakdown of how many kids next year will be attending all of those schools. And of course, that's changeable year to year. So more kids, and then of course changes if there's a transportation change or tuition change, but I don't believe that we're seeing that right now. But the governor budget.
But governor's budget has not, right?
Sorry, I'm struggling to find page 10, but I'm getting there. So that's a change in the number of students is what I'm hearing.
That's actually our current number of students that we're projecting. That's the only numbers we know. So we're just budgeting based on the current number of students. You're looking at page 10, the kids who we send to magnet schools and VOAG schools. You're not talking about tuition into the town.
So
right?
I'm specifically asking about in the budget, row 118, VOAG is increasing $5,292. And I'm just asking what's driving that cost? Is that more students going, or did the VOAG schools raise their tuition?
Or we can get that answer to you. It could very well be that the last year's budget didn't budget enough for the kids that actually went. Because we could have kids decide over the summer that they're going and they get into VOAG, and now we still have to pay for it, but even though we didn't budget for it, so now that we have 4 kids going to VOAG, it might have been only 2, and then we got 2 more to pay for, and now we're budgeting for what we know. So that's probably the answer, but we can get that exact answer to you.
Okay, and just as a reference point, neither of these two increased numbers equals a full tuition per student, so there's that.
The tuition per student is an average in the narrative portion, right? And on the chart, it's a total.
Okay. So on the supplies section, rows 125 through, this is pages of supplies. It's a lot of rows. So again, there's a number of increases that, are significant. I think the total change to that section is positive 14%. So if you could just talk to some of those significant changes on Monday, that would be helpful. I know that we have already addressed software and software licenses, so if we could understand more about what was moved into that line, that's row 213. Because these line items are all over the place. Some of them are, minus 100 and others are plus 177, so. Is there a difference between rows 125 and 126, by the way? It's the same account code. One's elementary. It's the same
Yeah.
account code.
One is middle school, one's high school. The five, if you look at the key on the bottom, a 5 in that column, it's for location. It says LOC. The
Yeah.
column is a Wheeler Middle School and a 6 is Wheeler High School.
All right, thank you. So Troy, if you could just, like I said, some of these that increased significantly, if you could just talk about them and whether they're reallocations or what's happening within this section.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I got this right. What line specifically? You said 213 was one of them?
213 is the one that went up
Yeah,
$71,500.
Yep, okay.
70% increase.
yep.
And Bill said that this was a kind of a reallocation of some other expenses.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we can get the list to you, of all the things that are in there. And then the other lines that you wanted,
I mean, I guess I'll leave the discretion up to you, but if you can just talk to some of the ones that increased significantly, 152, mathematics supplies going up 96%. Is that because something went down somewhere else? It's hard to follow.
right. Yeah.
And then in your slide deck, you mentioned replacing technology was, let me get there. 58,500. This is replacing equipment and buying new equipment. Where does that show up? I don't.
So those numbers are not in the budget. I believe if you're referring to the slide,
Well,
let's see. Oh, yeah, the technology/vision slide.
no, significant increases.
Oh.
You've got 58.5.
Oh, yeah, okay. Where are those? 240?
So I see 50 in here and this says 53.5 and 5,000.
Yeah, it's a couple lines combined.
So is this 239, 240? I guess it's that whole section. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
So they are in the budget.
Yeah, when I said they were, I thought you were referring to another technology slide that I had in my slideshow, but you're referring to the one about significant increases. Yeah, that clearly, all of that is in the budget.
Troy, I'll echo what Wino was saying. I'm seeing a correlation between instructional supplies for math and science, physical education, and the guidance department having very large increases. compared to what we saw in 2023, from what they spent in 2024, and then going into this new year. I personally would like to see a breakout of those. What is being planned? Why are we seeing, triple digit increases on a lot of those line items?
I guess we could try to find the answer to that.
Generally, the principals have a rotation because there isn't enough money to give every department money every year. So this year it's English, next year it's math, next year it's science.
Yeah.
So they tend to rotate where they spend the majority of their
So,
budget.
so last year, the guidance department spent, for the high school, $315. It's going up $700 to 1,000. That's a pretty big jump. Is it just a part of the rotation, or is there a reason behind that? So if I can see a
Yeah.
breakdown of,
Yeah, we'll do the best we can.
yeah,
to
do the
it.
best you can. It's
Yeah,
just,
I
I'd like
don't
to
know,
see.
like, this is, it's gonna be a lot of work for like $700 and answer what the Board of Ed already went through the budget in detail and approved. And I think it would be great if the Board of Finance can trust the Board of Ed in their budget somewhat, instead of requiring us to do all this extra work, especially, but yes, we'll do it. We'll do the best we can.
Yeah, if you're saying it's a part of the rotation, it's a part of the rotation. It's just that question, I had a question, I see some
Yeah.
shaking of the heads of the same,
Yep.
same questions that we're asking. It's just, when you start seeing triple digit increases, it doesn't matter if it's, based on $1,000 budget or a $5,000 budget.
Right.
Based on what you historically have spent over the last 2 years, and all of a sudden you're jumping up that much, it should be questioned. Is there an issue? Has it been grossly underfunded through the years? Those are the type of questions that we should be asking. Which will be the last question I have for tonight, would be repairs for the elementary school. Right? It's
Yeah.
going up 35%. Is there an issue? Is it just
Yeah, there's a
general, is it just general maintenance?
There's big issues. We've had a
Okay.
lot of unexpected repairs that we've had to pay for, and it's still ongoing.
Okay,
And we increased those, Bill, chime in if you want on this, but, we actually increased some of the repairs line even more. And then we took $25,000 out of it, thinking the town was gonna pay for some of the things, because they consider it be capital. And then we learned that, no, they're not gonna do that, so we never even put it back. So we're like crossing our fingers that things don't break next year.
is it because things are falling out of warranty and they're just wear and tear type items, or is it really big, like HVAC type stuff?
We've had some really significant repairs. We've done a couple of lists and breakdowns, and I'm happy to provide you with one of repairs that we've had to do that were outside of warranty, that were significant. Obviously, there's little stuff, right? Wear and
Mhm.
tear stuff that
Yeah.
we're gonna do. So based on that, Troy had made a recommendation that we fund those lines significantly higher for next year. After having the conversations that we've been having with the capital group, it seems like maybe we shouldn't anticipate that we'll have the same disasters that we had this year next year. And so we've walked that back to fund it at the levels that we funded it this year. And we've been able to make that work
Mhm.
this year within the budget without having to ask for an appropriation. But we do recognize that in some ways it's a little dangerous. But we're hoping that because we're having those conversations, that if things start to get weird, we'll be having really frank conversations with you guys, with the Board of Selectmen about what's going on. So for example, in our financial report that we looked at for the first time today, which you'll get in a little bit, Bill noted that we had 2 really significant expenses that we weren't prepared for. So another HVAC compressor and the motherboard on our fire alarm system. So there's significant expenses, again, just in 2 months, these 2 big things.
Are these like fluke items, or are they like have a sunset on these type of items? Where like, hey, they're only good for like 5 years or 10 years or whatnot, because that would be something that it would be easier for us to come with appropriation, take it out of the undesignated fund. And we are not putting that into the budget.
I totally agree with you. My understanding of these items are not things that we could be planful that we will need to replace this
Yeah.
at this time, right? These are repairs, not a plan.
I'm just fearful that you guys are saying, well, we could have a compressor that is gonna be $80,000.
That's why we're not
So,
funding it like that.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my fear is like, well, we
Right.
could have this, we could have the refrigeration system go down and we have to replace it. So we have to start. you
Right,
know,
that would be the easy knee-jerk reaction,
Yeah,
right?
you-
Let's overfund that item, but we did not. We walked it back to the funding level that we had this year.
Perfect. Okay.
With
thank
the
you.
idea that we're gonna have to just keep having these conversations, and we have faith that we're engaged in that process,
Yep.
and you are all up to speed on
Of
that.
course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait,
So
Some line, line 82. Line 82, down, there's. Try to see between what, the line 82. Try to make that maintenance contract and
Mhm.
service, and then repairs, be it repairs, and contracts be its contracts. In the past, I did mix. That's why you look at fiscal year 23, it's so high, because they
You're-
put.
You're
they didn't put
readjusting.
things in
Yep.
the right account. So going forward, line 82 is maintenance contracts that we know about ahead of time. There's maintenance contracts.
Mhm.
And then repair line will be like.
Actual repairs.
Yeah,
Yep.
like what happened.
Yep. Okay.
So that way in the future, we can track.
Perfect. Thank you.
So Troy, I don't want to I don't mean to overwhelm you. It just, Mike, if there's things like Bill knows, he moved things from one line to another. If that's in a document somewhere, if it was memorialized, share that with us. It would be helpful. And, you know, there's a lot of items on here that are over the 10%. You don't have to look at or explain all of them. We're not asking you to explain the dollars. Just if there's anything that seems like a big move, it would just be helpful for us to understand because we're not in this as deep as you guys are. So when we see 150% increase and we don't know that that's because 2 line items got moved, that just seems like something we need to address. So please don't get overwhelmed with our request. It's just trying to understand a little bit better. Thank you.
In looking for a little bit, I think, of what you're asking for, I had asked Troy if he could prepare me with some of the things that just provide the backup for these line items, what's inside of them. And so we could, it's a lot, but I mean, you can thumb through it and it's created, it's here, so we can share it if that's helpful.
I don't want to speak for Winona, but so just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's less about what's in them and more about how they evolved. So if it's literally like I took 3 things out of these 3 line items and moved them into one, that's great. We can do the math and see that they were even, and that's fine. If they were because we're underfunded textbooks or whatever, just like general understanding of why. Because in the end, Mike is the one who has to stand in front of the whole, town and put the budget through.
Yeah. You.
The Board of Finance does. So it's not about not trusting. It's just about being able to speak to it and explain it to the taxpayers.
Well, thankfully, I'll be right up there with Mike doing the Board of Ed budget, and we are going to get through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sarah, I totally understand, and that this should start to explain a little bit of that. Maybe with some explanation for why not last year and why this year added.
Like the line I'm looking at, it's like 152. Elementary school mathematics instructional supplies. The trend actual for 2023 was 1,600. Use round numbers here. And then the budget for last year was 2,800, and then we're budgeting 5,500. That is a substantial, going through those years, that's a substantial jump. Is it because we're increasing a program? Are we having more kids, using more math supplies? It would be just nice to know, seeing, are we moving something from point A to point B? It'd be nice to be able to see those, because there's gonna be people in this town, they're gonna take this budget and they're gonna do exactly the same thing that we're doing.
As
And
they
they're,
should.
as they should, they're the final word. But they're gonna look at every single one of these line items and they're gonna do exactly what I'm doing, is I'm circling all the big line items and seeing all the big increases based on a trend. We're doubling it almost every single year.
Could I just, do we want to do the
ahead.
same thing on the items that went down 50%? Especially when
I
we're
think it's
talking-
probably gonna be part of the same process, because, if there's a reallocation of one thing from here to there,
Exactly.
there could be. I mean, it's just a general explanation of, why these. And I I commend you for it, Bill, I mean, because it's usually, you know, this types of, you know, having done Quicken at home and trying to figure out how to, I just completely wrecked this category for the last 5 years and I had to redo it and make it, you know, more streamlined, you know, for my wife's little side hustle. You know, it's, it's for details, guys, it's fun, but, you know, if you don't know, you don't know.
And it could be just because they move stuff from one category, put it in a different category, and they just split it into two different categories, like they did with the maintenance and repair. It would be nice to be able to say and be able to straight face to somebody, this is the reason why we moved it from point A to point B, is because they moved it from point A to put it in this category and this category. And that's why you see a reduction and you also see an increase on other line items.
Go ahead, Amy.
Do you expect to use the fully budgeted amount of diesel fuel for this year?
Was the question that, did we use the budget, the whole budget for diesel fuel this year?
Do you expect to?
Do we expect to?
It's
Bill,
195. Line 195.
do we have the monthly report for the end of the year projection?
195.
Well, we could give you a better idea of money because the town was behind the billing, but they caught up. We just got a couple bills.
Okay.
Right now I can now I can estimate to the end of the year better than the paying something now.
So Bill, thank you. Once the town payments come through or billing comes through to you, you'll have this updated?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know about when?
Well, we just got stuff,
Okay.
so by Monday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We're double check, just got some new billing.
So the question was, have we used all of the diesel fuel that was budgeted? And there's, according to Bill, who's the bookman at the Board of Ed, is, they're behind on the billing so far. There is going to be some billing coming in, so we'll have better projections soon. Correct? Hopefully by Monday.
Can you just tell me what equipment the school leases?
What equipment the school uses?
Leases.
Oh, leases, copiers. Anything else you can think of, Bill? Phones? No? Copiers? Phones?
So let's.
What was the last thing? you
Line
said?
86.
Postage meter.
Postage meter, phones, copiers.
Okay.
I think that's about it. What we lease.
What we lease. Good leases to have. Anyone have any more direction for Troy? I just, go ahead, Sarah.
Sorry, I have one more request. I would love to know the full, the full cost spent on the girls' sports and the boys' sports specifically. Thank you.
Now, all district-wide?
Yeah, I think, yeah, district-wide.
Okay.
Please.
So I think we'll end it just so we're all clear. The delta between last year's budget and this year's budget is an increase of 509,343.82, correct? Yeah. Again, that's a 3.36% increase.
That's correct.
Without any other additional questions, we'll move on, and thank you so much, Troy. We appreciate all your time, and the Board of Ed as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Look forward to reconvening on Monday. So 9:04, obviously, number 5 was kind of built into number 4. We're not reviewing Board of Education financials. We don't have anything additional from what we received from Bill before, from January. I'm happy to table the minutes till Monday, or do you guys want to go over it now?
Let's see if we can get a warmer night.
Okay. And we might have some public comment, so let's move on to public comment. We'll table minutes till next meeting. Go ahead, Brian. Everyone gets to see you too, Brian, because no one knows you.
Okay. I just don't, it was an interesting budget proposal. I didn't know if the enrollment of our school has gone up or has gone down. And I also didn't, to compare our town to like Stonington or Groton, which has a heck of a lot more taxpayers than our town has. I'd like to see how other towns with the same amount of taxpayers we have fits into their budget and see how it looks toward ours. That's the only 2 comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Laura, do we have anything online? Can you see? Any hands up? If you're online right now and you want to speak, unmute yourself and speak. You got 10 seconds. I understand, but some people might not know how to put a hand up. What's next? Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All right, Dan and Gary. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone online, for your patience, our technical difficulties.